This is English Literature YouTube channel. This channel uploads the videos on English literature, English grammar, English phonetics and phonology, English semantics and syntactics, and English speaking course. I am Prof.L.B.Gayakawad talking on the topic that is called the point of view and its types. This is the topic which is very important for the students of English literature and of all the languages. This is the part third. In this part third, we will see the third person point of view. The third person point of view has two axes. The first is subjectivity and the second is objectivity. The subjectivity acts or the side. Subjective narration has one or more characters' personal feelings and thoughts. Remember, the subjective acts or the subjective side means the subjective narration has one or more characters' personal feelings and thoughts. It means that this subjectivity or this subjective narration gives us the more characters personal feelings, means there are more characters and the feelings of those more characters are there, or there is the feelings of only one character, and the writer describes this story with the help of the subjectivity acts or the side only to tell the feelings of his one character or more characters. The objective narration of third person never explains the feelings and thoughts of any character, but to some extent it explains the exact facts of the story happen with the characters. Remember, what is the difference between the subjective and objective narration? The difference between them is that the subjective side or the subjective narration explains the feelings and experiences of one character or more characters, but the objective narration never explains the feelings or experiences of the characters and the thoughts of the characters, or it never explains the thoughts of any character, but it explains up to some extent the exact facts of the story happen with the characters, means what the story has happened with the character and what are the exact facts of the feelings or the story or the experience. Those exact facts are described by the objective narration. The third person point of view or the narration of Omniscient informs story through multiple characters, places, and events of the story with the thoughts of the given characters. Remember, the third person point of view or the narration of Omniscient narration, that is the narration which is omniscient. Omniscient means that is the full, that is the I will say omniscient means that is the greatest point of view, and that omniscient point of view informs the story through multiple characters. Remember, it is the omniscient, and that's why it explains the multiple characters, their feelings, their thoughts, their opinions. Means it is omniscient. Omniscient means it is great, it is too much, or it is described on the grand scale, and that's why it explains the multiple characters through the narration, or multiple places or multiple events of the story with the thoughts of the given characters. Means what the thoughts are of the characters, or what are the opinions or experiences, or what are the uh, uh, moral values of the characters, or what are the events which are there in front of the characters, or which are the places that have been visited by the characters, or which are the places which have created the changes in the life of the characters. And in this way, all these multiple characters with the multiple places or events or the opinions are explained by the omniscient point of view, and that's why it is called omniscient. Omniscient means, I said, it is the view on a large scale. In simple words, we can say that it is the great narration, and that's why the writer uses this narration to explain the multiple characters. The third person limited narrator conveys the readers the knowledge and the subjective experience of just one character. Remember, the third person limited view of narration. Remember, this is the limited, and if it is limited, then it is quite possible that it will convey, or it conveys, the knowledge and the subjective experience of just one character. Means it can explain only the experience or the feelings or opinions or the knowledge of only one character, because it is the limited view. That is called the limited. Means it is not omniscient, or it is not the elaborating narration, and that's why it explains only one character's feelings, or one character's, I will say, moral values, or one character's experiences or opinions. Third person narrative method had been famous due to the limited and omniscient point of views during the 20th century. But the important thing here is that this limited third person narrative method had been famous in the 20th century due to the limited and omniscient point of view, because there was the limited and omniscient point of view, and that's why this method, this narrative view, or this narration had become very much famous during the 20th century. That is the point. Here we have finished the third person point of view. Now we are going to the omniscient or limited point of view. Omniscient point of view is presented by the character or narrator with grand view. Remember, omniscient point of view is presented by the character or the narrator with a grand view. I told you that it is grand, it is great, it is elaborating, or it is having the great space, and that's why it is called the omniscient point of view. And this omniscient point of view explains the feeling that everything that happens with the world of the story, with the feelings and thoughts of each character. It is the explanation that this omniscient point of view explains the feeling that is happen with everything and with the world of the story. With the world of the story means with the total story. It happens with the feelings and thoughts of each character. Means this point of view is related with the feelings and thoughts of each character. Means every character is considered there, or every character is counted there. Means the writer thinks of every character and he gives us the explanation and description of the feelings of and opinions of or the thoughts of every character there. This omniscient point of view has been most commonly used technique in the writing of narrative. Remember, when the writer writes the technique of his narration or writing, this omniscient point of view is used on a large scale. Why? Because it is widely used in countless classical novels. So remember, this is the most important point of view, and that's why it is used in the widely used or widely studied countless classical novels. For example, we will see some examples here. The novels of Charles Dickens, Leo Tolstoy, and George Eliot. These three persons have used this omniscient point of view on a large scale, because this is very much useful, because the span, the scope, the elaborating power of this view is very much grand, is very much great, and that's why these three persons, Charles Dickens, Leo Tolstoy, and George Eliot, have used this omniscient point of view in their classical novels. This omniscient point of view takes a subjective approach. Sometimes, remember, the subjective approach is taken by this omniscient point of view. Sometimes means not always, means only sometimes the writer takes the subjective approach means the way of explaining the view of narration, that is called the approach, and this approach is sometimes taken only by the writer, not always is taken this approach. This omniscient narration enhances the sense of objective truthfulness of the plot, which may be important with more complex narratives. Remember, this omniscient narration, remember, this is the omniscient narration, so it is already complex, means there are more feelings, there are more I will say opinions, there are more descriptions, or there are more characters, I will say, because these more characters or this grand viewed narration is very much uh, elaborating, and that's why this omniscient narration develops the sense of objective truthfulness of the plot, which may be important with the more characters, means this way of narration will be or may be or can be very much useful for describing the complex narratives, because the omniscient narration is like the complex narratives, and that's why this omniscient narration is compared here with the complex narratives also, because the complex narratives are created through the omniscient narration, and that is the way of the writer which is used by him very nicely. The omniscient narrator is the least able for being untrue, that is, it is always true, though the character has or can have its own personality to judge and pass opinions on the behavior of the story characters. Remember, here we are discussing that the omniscient narration is the least able for being untrue. It means that this omniscient point of view cannot be untrue, means it is always true because it is omniscient. Omniscient means what? I will say it is like a God figure, because omniscient is the final authority. Omniscient word is used for the final authority, and that's why this omniscient point of view cannot be a wrong view, or it cannot be untrue. That is it is always very true or based on reality. It is always true. It means that it is always with the true experience of the characters or of the writers. Though the character has or can have its own personality, though there is the importance to the personality of the character, though the character has the great personality there, though the character is having the great personality there, still this omniscient point of view is more than the great personality of that character, because that great personality is there to judge and pass opinion on the behavior of the story characters. Remember, when the writer uses that great character there, that great character passes views or passes opinions on the other characters in the story. Though such is the situation there, still the omniscient point of view is greater than the great character which is there described by the writer. There are many stories in literature alternate from one character to another at the level of character boundaries. That is a Song of Ice and Fire by George R. Martin and The Home and the World by Rabindranath Tagore in 1916. Remember here, the next explanation is that we have many stories in English literature, and that literature stories or that literature stories alternate, means they change or they give the changes in the characters, means they change the characters from one characters to another characters, means the characters are changed because the characters are versatile, the characters are round characters, and that's why the characters are changed from one character to another at the level of character boundaries. Because remember, the level of character boundary is important, because the change of the characters from one character to the second character depends on the boundaries of the character, because the writer recognizes the boundaries or the limitation, or I will say the writer knows if this character is suitable for changing, for alternating or not. He looks that, he studies that, and when he exactly knows that this character is very much uh, capable for changing or for alternating, then the writer changes those characters from one character to the second character, and in this way we get the changed characters there. There are the two examples given, and the first example is a Song of Ice and Fire by George R. Martin, and the second example is there of Rabindranath Tagore's story, and that is the story The Home and the World. Here today we have finished the part third of the narration types, and in the next lecture we will be in front of each other with a new topic. Up to that extent, I will request you all to stop here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.